I am, as most people know, the Fitness Beast. I am also known as the Polish Powerhouse. My main form of training is athletic development as well as strongman training. My reasons for my particular names is when I started my fitness journey back in 2011, Fitness and Beast just went together. It was the first name that popped up in my head, so I went with it. As far as Polish Powerhouse, there's two reasons for that. One, I'm a powerhouse. Two, I'm Polish. The majority of my training nowadays is focused more towards athletic development, movement, but I also love strongman, mostly because of the brute strength that it requires, and it's also painful, which I love. Movement to me is very important, such as for athletes and even people in the older population. A lot of the training helps around stabilization and preventing injury when someone falls, or just making it easier for someone to get about their daily life more easy. But where I started was sports, as most people, just moving around, being physical. I loved it, I craved it. Started lifting weights and doing body weights such as push-ups and pull-ups at the age of 12. I did that on and off, not very consistent, no specific training, till about the age of 18 to 19. And that's when I really took off with lifting weights. It started off with the basics, benching, squatting, deadlifting. But then eventually I got into all the old school stuff, the old school strongman, the one-arm barbell lifts, twisting horseshoes, all the cool stuff that the old timers did. There's something about picking up large, heavy, awkward objects and moving it from point A to point B. It just requires a brute type of strength that's different than a normal, typical barbell path that you'd see in the gym. You got a lot of the guys like Arthur Saxon, he's a big one, Paul Anderson. They're all into the big one-arm lifts, one-arm barbells such as a Turkish get-up, one-arm snatches, one-arm clean and presses, all that cool stuff. And to me, there's just something really intriguing about taking a heavy barbell and tossing it over your head with one arm. You gotta love pain. You have to have a strong cardiovascular system, and not many people would expect that. You don't necessarily have to be a large person, although it does help. Longer arms make it easier to grab onto larger, awkward objects. But for the most part, as I said before, you gotta like pain, you gotta be okay with pain because it's a painful sport. It hurts. You're gonna rip your hands open. You're gonna tear muscles, tear tendons, as a lot of people do. You're gonna tear the flesh off your skin pretty much anywhere, your stomach, you name it. The pain specifically shows me that I'm alive, and it shows me that what I'm doing isn't easy. The burn is just the progress I feel being made. And again, same with the pain, it shows me that I'm there and alive in the moment. I've done competitions in the past, however, never a strongman competition. I did mainly men's physique, although at the time I was 40 pounds lighter because this was about 7 years ago. As far as strongman, I do possibly plan on doing competitions in the future if the opportunity provides itself. I'm at a time where I'm training about 6 days a week consistently. Each muscle group about twice. I mostly try to hammer my legs, as that particular training builds all-around strength development for just being able to move your body in the awkward positions that strongman requires. I love to lift stones, heavy awkward stones, huge tree logs, people, fridges, couches, dressers, you name it, anything I can get my hands on. Both. My main training for my preparedness for the outside is done at home. I do have ample amounts of equipment, mostly loadable Atlas stones, sandbags, Husafell stones, which is the shape of an ancient stone in Iceland that's famous for being picked up and carried. I also have barbells, dumbbells, lots and lots of plates, yokes, and everything I need to get what I need done. This is like my home environment. My eating is a lot different than what most people would think. It's gonna be a shocker, but I do not and have never engaged in a diet. My typical meal, let's say this, I order Pizza Hut twice a week. I love to enjoy myself and drink beer 1 to 2 times a week. I love potato chips, donuts, cookies, fat milk, ramen noodles, and from time to time I'll eat some carrots or some broccoli. Training legs is absolutely my favorite muscle group to work out, and that actually goes back to the question earlier about loving pain. That's one of the reasons I love to train legs the most, is it's very painful, but the pain that you feel during it is why it feels so great when you're done. And again, training the lower body just transfers to all around brute strength everywhere on your body. My least favorite would be my back, and that's not because I don't like training back, but my back is probably my most developed. I may even say it's overdeveloped compared to a lot of other muscle groups, such as my chest, triceps. My favorite exercise to do inside, which you can also do outside if you're creative, but we'll stick with inside for now, would be the Turkish get up. And what that is you lay on a floor and you will hold a weight, could be a barbell, dumbbell, a tree, in one arm. And the objective is to basically stand up. You go through about 4 different movements, and you're holding the weight above your head the whole time. And at the end of the movement, you're holding the weight above your head until you go back down. My favorite exercise outside of the gym, lifting stones. There's nothing more intriguing than taking a large stone that weighs 400 or 500 pounds, lifting it off the ground, screaming, and throwing it back. My least favorite exercise would be pull-ups. Probably because I don't necessarily need them as much as I used to. And there's something about the movement itself that sometimes bothers my elbows. I don't know why. Nothing serious, but they nag me. My least favorite exercise to do outside, running. I hate running. Who likes running? That is the cool thing about a lot of my lower body training. I am huge on high rep training, and doing high rep training works the cardiovascular system in phenomenal ways. When it comes to lower body, it's very rare you'll see me do a weight that I can't do for at least 10 reps, but it's not uncommon for me to go to 20, 30, even 50 sometimes in reps, and that really gets my lungs burning. I can run a 5.5 minute mile without any training with running. Strangest object I've ever lifted. That's a tough one. I would say a large tree trunk. I don't want to call it a branch. It was taller than me in height, and it was large enough to where I could not wrap my arms fully around it to touch my fingers. I would say no less than 550. The strangest request, which is also the most common request, is lift me, lift me. Can you press me over your head? Can you lift me in the air with one arm? Or do you want to arm wrestle? Stuff like that. The answer is usually yes. I mean, why not? If someone wants you to lift them, it's a win-win for both sides. I do. And as a matter of fact, one time when I was lifting stones, I did bring a scale to weigh one of the smaller stones. And thankfully we had a concrete surface that was flat, unlike the grounds here. That one was 295 exactly. And judging on the type of stone that it was made out of compared to the ones I've lifted, I would say the heaviest is near 600, maybe even more. Time-wise, as in hours per week, I train 6 days a week, no less than 2 hours. So 12 to 13 hours a week goes into training. As far as full-time job, it's not a full-time job. The training itself is what I just love to do. It's what I do on my free time. It's a hobby, it's a passion. I can't say it does currently, and I hope it doesn't in the future. However, that's one of the biggest things that does happen with a lot of this. But again, that's the sacrifice you have to make when it's a passion of yours. I do make time for social life. I do make time for work. I do make time for other passions such as traveling and hiking, going on adventures, all of that. Knock on wood, I have not had any injuries yet. I have had setbacks, but it was mostly due to lack of resources. For instance, one of my goals was always a 225-pound Turkish get-up. I had access to a gym that had the proper space and equipment to train up to that, and that was until I moved. So now I'm a little limited on space. I still have the equipment, and with that equipment I still get done what needs to be done and do the best I can. Motivation for me is reminding myself of that feeling that you get when you hit that first PR. I'm blessed to whereas being motivated and staying motivated with this has never been an issue because it's my passion. And I find it very hard to lack motivation or lose motivation when you are chasing your dreams and your goals. Rage, but the good kind of rage. Just the weight getting lifted off your shoulders, literally. And just adrenaline. I would absolutely, if the opportunity presents itself, get into modeling, maybe competitions, whether it's bodybuilding or strongman. I know that for my weight, there's not a lot of opportunities for strongman competitions because, as you mentioned before, the majority of strongmen are larger Viking type looking men, 6'9", 400 pounds, large bone structures. And then you got me who's 5'6.5", 160 pounds, and I make do with what I got though. I wish I knew about the importance of longevity. And when I say that, I mean most people don't understand that there is more to training than just your musculature. You have your bones, you have your tendons, your joints, ligaments, all of that stuff. That also goes into maintaining overall strength and longevity because it is your foundation to your house. If you really, really want it, make sure you find a way to do it. What I mean by that is if you don't have the resources, the equipment, you go out and find it. You go out into the woods, you look for stones. The biggest stone you can find that you can lift, the biggest tree branch, biggest log. You use anything you can. If you don't have a pull-up bar, do pull-ups on a tree. If you don't have a dip bar, use a chair, put your feet on the couch. There are always ways around it if you get creative. You are going to be an advantage if you have a larger structure. Lifting bulkier objects, having longer arms is going to help grip it better. If you have to load it to a certain height, being taller is going to help. A lot of people think that stuff like deadlifts is actually harder for taller people, but it's not because the wingspan of that tall person goes with their height. So it kind of levels itself out. It does help to be genetically gifted, whether that be genetically gifted in size, whether that be genetically gifted with strength, strong tendons, strong bone density, all of that. It all helps. But anyone who is not blessed with that gift can also get into the sport. They are just going to have to work that much harder.